All right, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Ways and Means voting session. Today is Friday, March 5th. We have about 10 to a dozen bills on our agenda today. We are going to take two of the bills out of order. We will start with House Bill 34. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 34 it requires the State Department of Education and the Maryland Department of Health to authorize a healthcare practitioner at a school-based health center to provide services through telehealth consistent with telehealth rules adopted by the General Assembly last year. There are no amendments, and I move the bill. And we also, just so everybody knows, we are secondary on this bill. This bill is primary with the Health and Government Operations Committee that passed it out unanimously.
Second.
A motion and a second. And Delegate, just to confirm, the voting list does say amendment, but you're saying no amendments on the bill?
Yeah, no amendments on this bill. I don't know why it says that.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for the Vice Chair?
I have one.
All right,
Chair.
Delegate Shoemaker, go ahead.
Fiscal note. Is there a fiscal note for this thing? From my curiosity.
It just authorizes telehealth, Delegate.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Scrolling through my phone. All right, looks unanimous.
Yes, I'm opposed.
I'm opposed. April.
Delegate Rose, Delegate Hartman, who else?
Boatler.
Boatler. All right, Rose, Hartman, and Boatler. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, House Bill 940, Delegate Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 940 addresses gaming regulations of fantasy gaming competitions and the implementations of sports wagering. This was a bill that was heard through 2 work groups and 3 voting sessions. There are several amendments that we heard. It was voted unanimously out by the subcommittee, but I believe I would like George, if you would offer the amendments that are in the bill.
Thank you, Madam Subcommittee Chair. There are 14 amendments to the bill. As you have in your packet, you will also have a reprint of the bill. Amendments number 1 and 14 are technical. Amendment number 2 expands the purposes of the Problem Gambling Fund to include treatment and prevention programs related to fantasy competitions and other forms of wagering that are conducted in the state through online means, and would authorize the Lottery Commission to adopt regulations concerning fantasy competitions that include the establishment and creation of a voluntary exclusion list. Amendment number 3 alters the definition of fantasy gaming operator and defines the term gaming establishment for purposes of the Federal Bank Secrecy Act of 1970. It clarifies the definition of sports wagering facility license. By context, you will recall last year you altered the definition of video lottery facility for similar reasons. It authorizes the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network to share financial transaction data with the lottery agency. The lottery agency must ensure compliance with FinCEN requirements. Amendment number 4 strikes a required registration fee for certain fantasy competition operators and instead would authorize the Lottery Commission to impose a fee. Amendment number 5 clarifies definitions related to sports wagering. Amendments number 6 and 9 clarify provisions of the bill concerning the participation of minorities and women in the sports wagering industry and certain minority business entity participation goals. It requires applicants for and holders of sports wagering licenses to report certain information regarding minority and women owners, employees each year. It requires the Sports Wagering Application Review Commission, or SWARC, to the extent permitted by federal and state law, to actively seek to achieve certain diversity when awarding licenses and to encourage certain business entities to apply for licenses, and also encourages the SWARC to conduct its work as expeditiously as possible and in a manner that is in the best interests of the state and its citizens. Amendment number 7 requires the Lottery Commission to consider the use of certain technology to carry out its duties under the subtitle. Amendment number 8 would alter eligibility for certain sports wagering facility licenses. It increases the numbers of sports wagering licenses under the bill, alters the calculation of sports wagering license renewal fees, and alters the locations where sports wagers may be accepted accordingly. As amended, the bill would provide for 12 Class A sports wagering facility licenses, 10 Class B sports wagering facility licenses, and 15 mobile sports wagering licenses. Amendment number 10 clarifies language concerning certain labor peace agreements. Amendment number 12 requires the Lottery Commission to conduct a hearing on a request submitted by an interested party requesting prohibitions on types or forms of wagers before granting the request. Amendment number 13 clarifies that only the state's share of sports wagering proceeds are to be remitted by licensees, alters the period for remitting the proceeds from daily to a monthly basis, and distributes unclaimed wagers to the Problem Gambling Fund rather than the blueprint for Maryland's Futures Fund. And lastly, amendment number 14 would prohibit a member of the SWARC from having an official relationship to an applicant for or a holder of a fantasy competition or sports wagering license.
Thank
Does
you,
anybody
George.
have any, thank you both. Does anyone have any questions for Delegate Patterson? I do see a few hands up. 1 second. Delegate Ivy?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for the work that's been done on this piece of legislation by this committee and over the interim. George, I guess this is a question for you. Could you walk me through the provisions that are in the legislation, specifically looking to ensure that African American and other minorities are not shut out of this industry?
George, can you, Delegate Barnes, can you address Delegate Ivy's question? And then maybe George with some of the technical behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Delegate Ivy, I appreciate your question and your concern. And this is a conversation that I just had that the members of the Black Caucus should feel real proud about because we have taken extraordinary steps to ensure that minorities have an opportunity to participate in yet another multi-million-dollar opportunity coming before the state of Maryland. We have gone from Class B licenses from 5 to 10, so which gives minorities a greater opportunity to participate in this industry. We have gone from 10 mobile licenses to 15, which gives minorities a greater opportunity to participate in this license. Through conversations, a lot of the sports teams have already come out and said that they are willing to give part of their ownership of their Class A license to a minority. So if you look at that, nowhere in the union has a sports bill been put together like we are doing here in the state of Maryland, which gives greater opportunities for minorities to participate. So this is something that I feel extremely proud about, taking the lessons learned from medical cannabis and ensuring that we apply them within this bill. I think it's something that every member on this committee should feel good about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Hartman with a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you had mentioned the amendment to bring over the problem gambling fund or whatever, so are fees associated with this like in the VLTs, or are we just allowing people access to that fund?
So, Delegate Hartman, there are no fees that are being proposed with respect to that. Instead, as noted earlier, we're expanding the purposes for which the fund may be used to include treatment for issues related to sports wagering, fantasy competitions, or other online
Perfect. Thank you.
wagering. And then in addition, there is new revenue coming through the form of unclaimed sports wagers, those would be channeled to the problem gambling fund.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, George.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I think the amendments were explained, but we need someone to move and second them.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move favorable on the amendments.
Second.
All right, I heard a motion and a second. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? All right, unanimous on the amendments. Delegate Patterson on the bill as amended.
Move the amended bill.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on the bill as amended?
Madam Chair,
Please, Delegate Buckle.
all I wanted to say briefly is I really do, as everyone said, really appreciate everything that's going on to the bill and Delegate Patterson, Delegate Lutke, Delegate Barnes, and others, everyone's worked through the subcommittee. I do hope I have a little bit of heartburn. I'm certainly supporting the bill. It's hard to be a bigger fan of us bringing sports gambling to Maryland than what I can be, but I still continue to have a little bit of heartburn about two things. Number one, that we are not providing full access for all of the OTBs to get a Class A or a pre-designated license as opposed to going through the commission process. And number two, that perhaps we're not going far enough to tie together the brick and mortar licensees, who I think and hope many of whom will be MBEs, and certainly some of whom are our casinos that form the backbone of our gaming industry, not tying their licenses to mobile licenses, because everyone I've ever talked to in the sports gaming field says, yes, brick and mortar is significant. We definitely want to have it, but the financial viability really flows from the mobile license. So I just want to say that I know the bill is going to continue to be worked through because the Senate, may not be the exact same thing. But I want us to all keep those goals in mind of let's create a strong and robust MBE opportunity and a strong and robust casino opportunity to have, best in class sports gaming here in Maryland. So I'm going to vote for the bill and hope that everyone else does as well. At this juncture, we need to move things forward, but I do think that we can still make it even better as we move along.
All right, are there any other questions or comments? Delegate Shoemaker?
No,
Delegate
I wanted to say for the record, I echo the sentiments expressed by my good friend Delegate Buckle.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, all those in favor of 940, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, I believe that was unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, going back to the top of the list, House Bill 13, Delegate Lutke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 13 was a duly assigned bill. Appropriations was actually the primary committee. As it was introduced, it did two things. Under the appropriations bailiwick, it banned the use of taxpayer dollars to either promote or oppose collective bargaining campaigns by public employees. And it in the Ways and Means bailiwick, it also would have added an addition modification to Maryland adjusted gross income for businesses that took a business expense deduction on their federal taxes for anti-union activities. The Appropriations Committee, as primary committee on the bill, removed the addition modification. So as amended, the bill is really kind of a purely appropriations bill, but it was, I think, a party line vote in subcommittee. So I move the amendments.
Second.
Amendments were moved and seconded. Any questions? All right, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm not hearing anyone, so I'm going to assume unanimous. Okay, on the bill as amended.
Move favorable.
Second.
Motion and second. Any question on the overall bill? All right. All those in favor of the bill? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous.
No,
No,
Madam Chair, it's not.
No.
Chairman,
Apologize. All right. Who is opposed? I didn't hear the names.
It's party line, Madam Chair.
Party line, excellent. Thank you for clarifying. Sorry about that.
And Madam Chair, I think there was also some opposition to amendments that I'm not sure got recorded. You said unanimous.
Oh, okay,
no, we're
Okay,
fine. It's fine.
Good. Okay,
all right,
apologize.
no problem. Thank you. All right, party line on House Bill 13. Moving on to House Bill 252.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the spirit of passing good bills, House Bill 252 authorizes the governing body of a county or municipal corporation to withhold owner-occupied residential property from tax sales during the period of January 1st, 2021 through January 30th, 2023. Move the bill.
Second.
And were there amendments, delegates?
There was no amendment.
Oh, okay, are there any questions on the bill, House Bill 252, moved and seconded? Delegate Long,
I have an amendment.
All right, can you explain your amendment, Delegate Long?
It just changes it from 2 years to 1 year. I don't know if Delegate Barnes mentioned that or not.
Well, let me ask you a question, Delegate Long, in regards to your amendment to reduce it from 2 to 1 year. Since this is enabling legislation, would the jurisdictions already have the ability to only make it for 1 year?
That's a good question. I had a long conversation with one lobbyist. I'm trying to think of his name right off the top of my head. I asked him, and he said he didn't think so. The theory behind it is if we go for 2 years, we just don't want someone to get too far in debt. So the thought behind this was to leave it for 1 year, and if we need to come back next year and extend, we don't have to.
Let's ask our counsel, George, Mr. Butler, can you confirm if this bill were passed as 2 years, would any jurisdiction be able to create it for just 1 year?
Madam Chair, I believe that this is Stan Ward's bill.
Oh, I apologize. I knew that. Sorry about that. Mr. Ward. Are you there? I thought I saw him come into the meeting. He is here, but
We'll get him.
let's get. Okay, well, let's move on to the next bill while we're waiting. We'll come back to that, Delegate Long. House Bill 518, Delegate Ebersol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 518 requires. Yep, he's back.
House Bill 5. All
Hi,
right.
I'm sorry.
Stan, back
I'm
on
here.
House Bill 252. If Delegate Long's amendment to reduce it to 1 year, but is it true that under the current bill, without an amendment, that a local can make it for just 1 year?
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, Delegate Long, because I'm not sure if the amendment is needed. Just wanted to offer that thought.
Okay.
You
I
can still,
already give my
you can still
word.
ask.
Right. I give him a word. Well, I said I would do it. So I'm
Okay,
gonna stick with my word.
all right. It's been offered. Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of Delegate Long's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
I didn't hear too many hands, but let's, all opposed to the amendment? I'm seeing like just Delegate Ebersol in the moment. Delegate
Yeah.
Lutke,
I think it's only one.
I think.
it's a
Pat,
party line vote.
Party line, okay. All right, was that correct? Is anyone, just to make sure we are characterizing it, everyone
Madam
correctly?
Chair, I voted for the amendment. Delegate Guyton.
Thank you, Delegate Guyton. Thank you for that clarification. All right, that amendment did not pass, so back to the bill itself. House Bill 252, Delegate Barnes.
Move the bill.
Oh, I
Second.
apologize. You actually already did earlier. Are there any other questions? Delegate Long, I still think you won, if not the battle, I still think you won the war on this. And that you did. All right. Are there any other questions on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of the bill, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, working off my phone, so it's hard for me to see hands. All right, House Bill 518, Delegate Ebersol.
Let's start that up again. The bill requires a publisher who offers a license to an electronic book to the public to also offer the license of the electronic book to public libraries in the state on reasonable terms that would enable public libraries to provide the users with that book. There's an amendment which we needed to add audio books, and we also made a technical change. Move the amendment.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on the bill as amended,
Move favorable, Madam Chair.
Second.
any questions? All right, all those in favor of the bill, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, not seeing any. All right, House Bills, is that just the amendment or the bill? Now I lost my count.
We did both.
Excellent, thank you. House Bill 651.
651 requires the PSTEB, Professional Standards for Teacher Education Board, to set up regulations for sign language interpreters across the state. The bill had very specific requirements in it, and the amendment we gave removes the specific requirements and simply sets dates for PSTEB to set a standard for certification, for continuing education, and for recertification, and then basically sets a date by which people must be certified if they are going to continue. That's the date is 2022 for the standards and 2028 to become certified. The original bill also said that we would be required to reimburse, but our bill suggests reimbursement. Move the amendments.
Second.
The motion and a second. And so as I understand it, you moved it to PSTEB and took it away from us because since they are the Professional Standards Teaching Board, they're probably a little better suited than we are to determine these
Yes.
certification requirements.
Yes, and MSD is mentioned because they oversee PSTEB, at least improving what they do.
Okay. Are there any questions on the amendments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on the bill as amended, Delegate Ebersol?
Move favorable, Madam Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Not hearing any, unanimous. House Bill 714, Delegate Ebersol?
This craftily written bill actually is sort of a response to COVID, but it will go forward. Says that child's IEP has to have a learning continuity plan in the event that there are emergency conditions where students are learning in other methods of school, but instruction is still occurring. We also put in something that said that if emergency occurred and we defined it as 10 days where instruction wasn't occurring in the normal way in buildings, but outside, that would be emergency. Within 10 days after that, the student or the family would have to be contacted to let them know the IEP was in action, checking with them how to do it. The 504s were also mentioned for that contact, but there's nobody that's a case manager, so we took 504s out. And we added some uncodified language at the end to make people check in at the end of this year with people, but that was specific to the COVID year, and those were amendments. I moved those amendments.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions on the amendments? All right, all those in favor of the amendments?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous on the amendments, and then on the bill as amended, Delegate?
Move favorable, Madam Chair.
Second.
Delegate Clayton, would you like to second it?
You did.
All
Second,
right.
Madam Chair.
I can't always tell people's voices. All right, excellent. Questions on the amended bill? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. That looked to be unanimous. House Bill 1086, Delegate Lutke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1086 makes a number of revisions to the tax credit evaluation process. It would eliminate the Joint Tax Credit Evaluation Committee, which has essentially been, effectively defunct for the last couple of years, expand the scope of the act to include tax exemptions and preferences. It would make some changes to sort of the process that we use to determine which credits and now exemptions and preferences would be evaluated under the act. There is a set of amendments, two amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 just clarifies that it strikes provisions of the bill that, as originally introduced, would have prohibited a unit of state government from being required to administer. Sorry, let me take a step back. Under the original bill, before tax credit certificates could be issued, a department would have to issue regulations. And there were concerns expressed about that, particularly from the Department of Commerce, because they often have to change programs as they're going because they learn new things. So instead, we've replaced that with language requiring reporting back to the legislature regarding actions taken to implement the credits. So it ended up, I think, passing unanimously. Move the amendments.
Second.
All right, it was, I moved, I think seconded as well. Any questions? Are there any questions on the amendments? I think I'm getting a bad signal. Are there any questions on the amendments?
No.
No.
All right. All right. All those in favor of the amendments?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And on the bill as amended, Delegate Lutke?
Favorable.
Second.
All those in, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
My daughter is making sure everyone votes for this. Anyone opposed? All right, with a bruiser. Thank you for that. All right, thanks for your help. All right, House Bill 1211, Delegate Lutke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1211 would codify in statute the pre-seed builder fund at TEDCO. It would also add mandated appropriations to the fund. There were no committee amendments, and it ended up passing subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
Second.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
And any questions? All right. All those in favor of the bill, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, scrolling through, looks to be unanimous. House Bill 1252, Delegate Lutke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for fun, when House Bill 1252 comes to the floor, we are going to randomly choose a member of Ways and Means to explain what a preceptor is. What this bill does is it affects a number of things related to preceptors in the healthcare workforce. There's an existing credit which was created to try to incent preceptorships and help expand the healthcare workforce in underserved areas of the state. So we had 2 bills come in this year relating to the preceptorship tax credit. We ended up combining them into a single bill, this bill, just for ease of moving things along. So as amended, this bill does a number of things. In addition to the existing physician and nurse practitioner preceptorship credit, it creates a physician assistant preceptorship credit. It extends the termination date for the 2 existing credits and matches it with a termination date for the new credit. That'll be 5 years out. It decreases the number of training hours that a physician is required to perform in a preceptor program rotation in order to qualify for the credit. Finally, it would require, before the sunset for the program, it would require the Department of Health to report back to the legislature about whether these preceptor tax credits are actually having the impact that we expect them to have in terms of helping to get people into underserved areas of the state. And I think this one as well ended up being unanimous. We had a good week in Revenue Subcommittee. We agreed on everything. Move the amendments.
Second.
Nice. motion and a second. Any questions on those amendments? All right, we will pick out of a hat on who has to define preceptors. All right, all those in favor of the amendments?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, not hearing it. On the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
Second.
Mike, for the moment. Is anyone there?
Yeah, Madam Chair, you're
We're
frozen.
hearing baby talk.
What's wrong with my?
We're hearing.
It was me. It was my connection. I lost all your photos. Did everyone vote in favor of 1252?
We didn't hear you call the
We
vote.
didn't hear you, so we didn't say anything.
My phone froze. All right, all those in favor of the bill as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
I'd like to announce on behalf of the annex, we don't have to know what a preceptor is. You can't get us to a microphone. Sorry.
You've learned a new advantage besides the shorter walking distance.
And
All
I
right.
will definitely be asking Delegate Ebersol the question.
It'll
All
take me
right.
it'll take me about 20 minutes to walk over to. Okay.
Everyone will be glad to wait. All right, one more bill. Delegate Lutke, House Bill 1026.
What am I missing?
1026?
It's a withdrawal.
Move unfavorable on the
You're
Oh, sorry. Move unfavorable on the withdrawn bill.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Isn't
Any
it fun to
opposed?
watch Lukey look confused? I really like that for a minute.
Ludke's
All right.
confused a lot.
We're done with the voting list for today. And again, members, there will have to be a lot of voting next week in the week after. So just be ready and flexible, and we'll give you the warning of when it's coming. So hope everyone has a safe weekend.
Thanks.
Good weekend, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Any announcements from the sub chairs? Nope.
Oh.
All right, see y'all. Thank you.
Weekend.
We have a safe